Welcome back to the Home Lab, and today I've got something really special to share with you, and something for some of you might bring back loads of happy memories of your youth and electronics projects. What we're going to look at is this very early science fair crystal AM radio kit. So a while back you might have seen the video I did on the Philips EE8 radio kit, and I sort of felt it was an absolutely fantastic kit, and so many of you left comments about it. But it was an expensive kit, and I think it wouldn't have gone out to a lot of people back in the day. I mean, you really needed to wait for Christmas. However, if you had pocket money, just a little bit to spare, or you'd done something good at home and your parents were going to treat you, you could nip down to Radio Shack, as it was called back in the day. Some of you might remember Tandy in the UK, and buy a little kit to build something. And this is a very early radio kit. It's a simple AM radio crystal set that uses a diode. And what we'll do today is we'll have a look inside, and I hope for some of you this will bring back some real memories of how your electronics interest first began. But as ever, just before we start, I want to say a huge thank you again to all of you for watching and supporting my channel, and welcome to those of you that are new to the channel. I hope you enjoy the sort of things I feature here. I also want to say a huge thank you again to PCBWay for sponsoring this video, and as you know, they're always encouraging me to make more and more videos, but they're really kind. They say, you know, you do what you like and we'll encourage you with your work, which is fantastic. And today, this is a good example of that sort of thing. As you know, they make bespoke printed circuit boards, CNC machining and all that sort of business. And if you're into electronics projects, I think you really should give their website a look and see how they might help you with what you're making. I've also seen recently on YouTube quite a lot of videos where people have made all sorts of unusual mechanical and electronic things, and they've used PCBWay's help to get these things manufactured. Anyway, that's the background to how I can make these videos. So now let's get on and have a closer look at this lovely science fair crystal AM radio kit. So let's have a closer look at this kit, and before we open it up, don't you just love the box? By the way, if I put my hand in the way, I haven't got big hands, it's just a very, very small little kit. I wonder how much it must have cost back in the day. Anyway, I love these old covers, particularly I like the way they put the pictures on of your typical schoolboy and schoolgirl, and the girl with her bunches and tank top and the boy in his jeans, looking nowhere near the picture of the kit here, but it is interesting to say, and I don't want to get into a big debate about this, but it's interesting they put a boy and a girl on the cover, which is fantastic, because I think the marketing in those days, I think there was no question of the fact that things seemed to be marketed quite differently for boys and girls, so separately. So I think that's quite interesting. So it's a bit of social history as well as anything. Something else you'll notice is the catalogue number. So you'll remember that Tandy, Radio Shack and RS Components and companies like that had these hyphenated codes, and this one is 28-207. Maybe there's a database somewhere we can look that up on, but I think that's quite a low number, isn't it? Or is the 28 only low because that's the section that has kits in, and maybe this is the 207th they released. Anyway, I love the bits as well. No tubes, transistors or batteries, so it makes the point that it's a crystal radio. And for some of us back in the day, the idea of no batteries was a real mystery. And I like this bit too. It uses the same circuitry developed by Marconi. Well, yeah, same circuitry. I think you get the idea. Certainly not the same components, but the same idea of a radio setup. And of course, that ubiquitous little high impedance earphone that was used, and all the kits came with those. On the side, it tells you what's inside it. It's a science fair kit. I don't remember if we had science fair in the UK or was it just Tandy kits. I love the idea. This is good for parents, isn't it? It plays forever, nothing to wear out. And back in the day, lots of things when I was a kid said manufactured in Taiwan for Radio Shack. And of course now it'll be manufactured in China. So let's get the box open and see what's inside. Right, let's pop the box open and have a look inside. And here comes some instructions. And it's printed on a really good quality piece of paper. And for the time, you tell me if you think otherwise, the typeface is really large. It's very readable. There was a period where paper seemed to be quite expensive and books, etc., were written with tiny print, but this is actually quite large. So we'll zoom out and have a look at that in a minute. And inside the box, here is the really interesting bit. This is the kit. So we'll pop that out, and you'll notice that this one has been constructed, not by me, I hasten to add, but when I got it, it was already put together in the box. So I think maybe for another video, we should, I was going to say power it up. We don't need to power it up, do we? We just switch it, make sure it's sort of connected. I was going to say switch on. You know what I'm trying to say here. No power supply. And just see if it works. Anyway, let's have a closer look at this and a closer look at the instructions. So I'm sure all of you know about crystal radios, and this is a really good setup. I've been trying to push these wires out of the way so we can see what's going on. I'll just take the earpiece wires out of there. Okay, so you can see it's got a connection for a short antenna and a long antenna, and the long antenna goes into the ferrite bar coil here. Not quite a centre tap, but one part of the coil, and the short antenna goes straight to the crystal diode. And also we've got our tuning capacitor, so we've got our resonance circuit here, our LC circuit, where we can change not the inductance, but we can change the capacitance. The diode here looks like an OA91 or something like that, so that'll be a germanium diode, and you're going for one that has a very, very small voltage across it to get it working. And of course, I said it before, our earpiece here, and I've just seen so many of these over the years, but only with kits. Were they for something else? Was someone else using them for other things? I think they were used for sort of walkie-talkies and radios as well. But nice high impedance, so it doesn't load the circuit too much, so we can hopefully receive a signal. Well, back in the day, there would have been a lot of AM radio, not so much now. And of course, you'll all remember the springs, and you'll either remember them with pleasure or real annoyance because things didn't fit in and they got a bit rusty. But look at the quality of these, still beautifully shiny. We'll just tip it upside down, and there's our tuning capacitor. So that's the standard one you got with kits, and of course you've had to put it in on the springs, and I presume those wires were soldered onto it already. So I think as crystal radios go, this is exactly what one should look like in this kind of kit form. Really simple, no extra parts, and with a bit of help and a bit of explanation, you can understand exactly how it works. So let's have a look at the printed instructions now. And as I said, it's on a lovely piece of paper and it's kept really, really well. So I like this bit. With your crystal radio kit, you can tune into the AM radio band, and it gives a frequency range there, and you don't use batteries or AC power. It works on the same principle as the early crystal radio. However, and I'm glad they've said this, the crystal, capital C, has been replaced with a more modern device called a diode, capital D. The function of the diode is basically the same as the old crystal, but with the advantages of being smaller and easier to use. Yeah, and easily burnt out if you don't know what you're doing, but not with this circuit because there's no power supply. So let's have a look inside. And I won't go through it all, of course, but it tells you what parts are in there, how to put in the spring terminals. Do you remember doing that? Putting it on the tip of a pencil and sort of screwing it in, putting the variable capacitor into place, and then other bits that need to be mounted. So I quite like this because it wasn't just wires that you had to connect up, but you did need to, use a screwdriver and do a little bit of mechanics and perhaps learn how to tighten things, but not too tight, which was my mistake when I was younger. I always did things too tight and cracked plastic and stripped brass, etc. There's a lovely picture here of the diode and the banded end. Does it say banded? Yes, that's right. I saw bonded end. It's not a gold bonded diode, it's a banded end, and so we can get the diode the right way round, and it makes a point here about the cathode and which way it points. You can connect the diode in either direction without damaging it. Later on you might like to try the other way with the cathode to terminal 8 and see if it changes the reception. So that makes a very interesting point about the type of signals we're dealing with. And then here we've got the diagram of the sort of completed thing, and I think it's beautifully drawn and telling you what connections to make. And I do like these little boxes. I used to get my students to use these because you can tick it off as you go along. And the phrase we've all been waiting for, your crystal radio is ready to use. All you have to do is connect the antenna and ground and listen to the earphone. And a quick look at the back. It mentions the antennas you can use, and it says you should connect a long antenna if you happen to live some distance from the nearest station. Well, yes, the nearest station these days. Let's see. And the bit that I find quite interesting is we've got Radio Shack here. It is a division of Tandy. Tandy's what we saw in the UK, and an address in Fort Worth, Texas. We've got Canada. Where else have we got? Australia, Belgium, and for me, the interesting place, Bilston Road in Wednesbury. So, near Birmingham. And it mentions that it's been printed in Taiwan. So, as instructions go, that's lovely. And it's lasted really well. And we can see the copyright here for science fair projects. So they were very much particular to Tandy, or as some of you will have known it, most of you will have known it, Radio Shack. So I can't find a date for this, and I'm thinking the golden age of these kits was really the 1970s and 1980s when I was a kid, and we saw loads of these kits with the springs on them, and sort of 20-in-1 and 101 type kits, and maybe I should feature some of those. This sort of feels older. This feels as if it goes back a bit further. It's got an interesting history to it, and I did mention on the box when you look at the pictures, I think the social history of these things is really interesting, apart from just the fact that they were electronics projects. I mean, for a start, we've got, as I said, the picture of the children of its time, and we've got mention of Marconi, etc. But certainly in America, at the turn of the 20th century, John Dewey wrote lots of books about education. And whilst he had sort of varied views about educational reform, he was a great believer in kids finding out how to work out things in their minds and how to work out science ideas by getting hands-on experience. And you've got to remember back in the day, kids lined up in silence being lectured by their teacher and probably never ever touching any equipment. And there was a bit of a change, and I was brought up through the Nuffield era where we definitely learned through hands-on experimentation. So John Dewey, I think, had a major part to play in that, starting off in America, and I guess in the UK it was 100 years earlier that we had Thomas Arnold, who had a different kind of education. Anyway, it's not a history lesson, but the point I'm making is, if you've got any of these things at home or you find them anywhere in sort of jumble sales, do think also about the social history behind them, because in many ways that makes them even more interesting. So there we go, let's pop it back in the box for now. And whilst I'm doing that, if you remember, I mentioned that I didn't build this, so this is in the state it was when it was last played with, which makes me wonder, who was the child who built this, and did they get it to work? Well, perhaps I should do the same and have a go, but there we go. Isn't that an absolutely lovely kit and a fantastic bit of history? So there we go, that's the Science Fair Crystal AM radio kit. Now, if you're watching this channel, I know what your interest must be, but also if you've got this far, I bet you had something like this. Did you have this kit? Let me know in the comments if you did. Or did you have a kit similar to it? I know many of you had the Philips kits and the EE8 and the developments of those, but there were lots of these kits that were the Science Fair, the Tandy ones, or other copies of it with the spring terminals that you could connect the components up with. So if you had one, do let me know in the comments what you had. And there's something else I wanted to ask you. I've got lots of these kind of kits in my collection, and they're sort of hidden away, and I've got a few in the roof, and I would absolutely love to feature more of them. So if that's something you'd like to see, do let me know in the comments, and I'll get on and make some more videos about the kits I've got. I've actually got a couple of chemistry kits as well, but I've been trying to stick to physics and electronics. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and as you know, I'll be making another video very soon, so do please join me then.